structure for time words. Hardly and no sooner. Now the meaning of these two time words is the same. The structure is also the same, but there's a slight difference that we need to look at. First of all, let's look at the basic structure. Here's the structure for hardly. With these time words, we have two clauses. The structure for the first clause goes like this: had plus hardly plus a past participle verb. Now this tense is the past perfect tense. Had plus PP. And the second clause consists of the words before or when, plus a past tense verb. Now this tense is the past simple tense. So in one sentence, we've got two different tenses. The first clause is the past perfect tense. The second clause is the past simple tense. We use these two tenses to say that the event in the first clause happened before the event in the second clause. When we use the past perfect, it means it happened before the past simple event. It looks a little confusing, but look at the example just underneath. It will make it much clearer for you. So look at the underlined words. This is the first clause. And look at the structure. John had hardly begun his new job. This is the past perfect tense. We have had plus the time word hardly plus a past participle verb, begun. John had hardly begun his new job. The second clause begins with the word when, so you can choose between the words before and when to begin the second clause. The second clause goes like this: when he left to start another one. Now notice the past tense verb left. We're not using the past perfect tense here. We're just using a past tense verb. So put the whole sentence together, the two clauses. It reads like this: John had hardly begun his new job when he left to start another one. The meaning, as we went through in the previous lecture, is the second event in the second clause happened just after the first event in the first clause. So John left his job just after he began it. So soon after he began his job, he left to start another job. That's the structure for hardly. Now let's look at the structure for no sooner. The structure is exactly the same as hardly, except in the second clause we have a different word. We can use than or when. So with hardly we can use the words before or when, but with no sooner we use the words than or when to begin the second clause. So the first clause had plus no sooner plus a past participle verb, which, as we went through before, is the past perfect tense. And the second clause begins with than or when plus a past tense verb, which is the past simple tense. So look at the sentence below. It's exactly the same as the one we went through before, but this time I've used a different word to begin the second clause. John had no sooner begun his new job than he left to start another one. So the meaning is the same. Remember, the second event happened just after the first event. That's the structure for these two time words. Very, very similar. The only difference is the words that you can use to begin the second clause are slightly different. Now, if the structure seems quite complex because we have two clauses, don't worry. Move on to the next lecture, the things to note, and then move on to the speaking and listening practice exercises. These will really start to help you become familiar with the meaning and the structure. They're designed to start to train your brain to master the structure. So move on to those, and I'll see you in the next lecture.